Sarah Collins stood inside a pawn shop, holding the only thing she had left from her marriage, her wedding ring. The clerk looked at it and said, "This is worth more than you think." Sarah smiled sadly. "It fed my family once. Maybe today it'll feed someone else." She took the money, walked outside, and noticed an elderly homeless man shivering on a bench. Without thinking, she bought him a hot meal, a blanket, and a coat. He looked into her eyes with tears. "You'll never regret this," he whispered. Sarah smiled politely. She never expected to see him again. 20 years later, the richest man in the state stepped onto a stage during a charity gala. He looked across the room, pointed directly at Sarah, and said, "I've spent 20 years searching for the woman who sold everything, just to save a stranger." The entire room turned toward her. Sarah froze, because she had never told anyone about that day. 20 years earlier, Sarah had nothing. Her husband had passed away after a long illness. Medical bills had taken the house. She worked 2 jobs, barely earning enough to keep food on the table for herself and her young son. That morning she stood in the pawn shop staring at her wedding ring. It wasn't just gold. It was every promise her husband had ever made. Selling it felt like saying goodbye all over again. When she walked outside with the money, she planned to buy groceries. Then she saw an old man sitting alone in the freezing rain. Most people walked around him. Some pretended not to notice him at all. Sarah stopped. She bought soup, bread, coffee, a warm coat, and a blanket. The old man looked at her as though no one had spoken to him in years. "What is your name?" he asked. "Sarah. I'll never forget it." She laughed. "You don't have to." Then she walked away. Life continued. She never became rich. She never became famous. She simply raised her son, worked hard, and tried to be kind whenever she could. What Sarah never knew was that the homeless man wasn't an ordinary stranger. His name was Henry Lawson. Years earlier, he had built a billion-dollar company. Then he lost everything after trusting the wrong people. The day Sarah helped him was the day he decided not to give up on life. Slowly, he rebuilt everything. One business became two. Two became 20. Eventually, Henry became one of the wealthiest philanthropists in America. But through every success, he carried one small note inside his wallet. On it was a single name: Sarah. He had searched for her for years. Different cities, old records, charities, churches. But Sarah had moved several times and disappeared into ordinary life. Until the night she unknowingly attended his charity gala after winning free tickets from her local community center. Henry recognized her the moment she walked through the doors. Not because of her face, because of her smile. The same smile that had told a broken man he still mattered. When Henry invited Sarah onto the stage, she thought there had been some mistake. "There isn't," Henry said. "You gave away your future to help someone you believed could give you nothing in return." Sarah shook her head. "I only bought you dinner." Henry smiled through tears. "No, you gave me back my reason to live." The audience sat in complete silence. Henry reached into his pocket. Inside was Sarah's old wedding ring. She gasped. "I bought it from the pawn shop the very next day," he said. "I promised myself that if I ever found you again, I'd return the greatest treasure I ever received." Sarah's hands trembled as she slipped the ring back onto her finger. Not because it was expensive, because after 20 years, hope had finally come home. Henry established a foundation in Sarah's husband's name, helping widows, struggling families, and homeless veterans across the country. When reporters asked why he donated so much, he always answered with the same sentence: "The world wasn't changed by a billionaire. It was changed by a widow who sold her wedding ring to feed a stranger." Sarah never became famous. She never asked for recognition. She simply kept living the way she always had. Kind, honest, quiet. And every morning, before leaving the house, she looked at the wedding ring on her hand. It no longer reminded her of what she had lost. It reminded her that the smallest act of kindness can echo through someone's life for decades. Because sometimes, the greatest investment you will ever make is in a stranger you'll never expect to see again. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional stories like this.